I was in prison for what felt like an eternity. And finally, someone came to rescue me. Chapter 45, Saved by the Bellodilina SPOV. I slowly came to, realizing I was in the backseat of a car. My surroundings were unfamiliar, and I could see about 8 men dressed in black sitting in the front seats. Their expressions were unreadable, their focus elsewhere. I glanced at my watch without thinking it was a habit when I was stressed. It was 7:30 in the morning. Apparently, I had slept through the night after the door was broken down. I turned to look out the window. The landscape passed by in a blur, the forest stretching endlessly on either side of the dirt road. Tall trees loomed over us, their dense branches creating a canopy that blocked out most of the light. The air felt cooler. As we moved deeper into the woods, I felt a sudden sense of unease. What's going on? Where am I? Is this some kind of dream? My voice shaky. You're in a minibus. My wolf responded, her tone flat, offering no comfort. Right, I muttered to myself. Great, again with the men in black, taking me somewhere. I glanced at the men in front of me, trying to get their attention. I'm sorry, sirs, where are we going? My voice steady, but they didn't acknowledge me. Not even a glance in my direction. Were they ignoring me on purpose? Or was I really that invisible? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing enthusiasm. I muttered, almost under my breath. Nothing original. Just another typical kidnapping. Some people like to complicate things. My wolf chimed in dryly. Why bother taking you somewhere when they could have just killed you at the cabin? After you gave Mario his answer. Less hassle. No witnesses. Just a place to bury the body. That's exactly what I needed to hear, I said sarcastically, rolling my eyes. Your ear realmer, Al Booster. Just being practical. She retorted. You know him right. Don't blame me when we're surrounded by a bunch of idiots. Yes, I know. You're full of assets, I muttered, feeling the weight of the situation settling in. The minutes dragged on, and my nerves continued to simmer just below the surface. An hour passed, and the vehicle finally slowed. We were approaching what seemed like the borders. The forest gave way to a stretch of cleared land. But as we passed through, the guards didn't stop us. They barely even glanced at us as we drove past, clearly expecting us. A sinking feeling gnawed at me. We continued driving for another 10 minutes. The landscape shifting as we headed farther into unfamiliar territory. The air had grown distinctly colder, and the vegetation around us felt thicker, more oppressive. Eventually, the vehicle came to a halt in front of a large house. It was unmistakably a pack house, though I cowed tell which one. Why had they brought me here? Was this Mario's doing? It was clear they weren't taking me to just any pack house. It had to be important. I felt an unsettling sense of dread welling inside me. The moment the vehicle stopped, the men in black began to exit without a word. One of them opened my door and grabbed my wrist, yanking me out of the car with little effort. One thing was certain: the pack was in the north. The air had grown colder, and the dense forest around us felt different from anything I had encountered before. The car came to a complete stop, and the men in black began to exit. One of them opened my door, grabbing me by the wrist and pulling me out of the car. Get out. His voice clipped, as though it was the most natural thing in the world. I was too stunned to resist at first, but my instincts kicked in, and I pulled back slightly, trying to break free of his grip. It was no use. He was stronger than me, and within moments, I was on my feet, being ushered toward the imposing house. Where are we? I demanded, finally finding my voice. What do you want with me? The man didn't respond. He shoved me forward with a silent command, his grip never loosening. The moment we stepped past the threshold, I saw more men, more wolves. I assumed standing in the shadows, their eyes locked on me with cold indifference. They didn't move to stop us. They didn't need to. The house was grand, much larger than I expected, with towering walls and thick curtains drawn over the windows. Everything about it felt imposing, like the kind of place where dark deals were made. But which pack was this? Who was in charge here? My thoughts raced as I was escorted through the halls. There was a sharpness in the air, a sense of danger I couldn't shake off. Was this all part of Mario's plan? What was waiting for me here? The answers, I knew, were somewhere in the shadows, and I was about to find them. We passed through the grand hall of the house, and the hallway stretched out before us, leading toward an elegantly carved iron staircase. The hall was lined with exquisite paintings, each framed with ornate gold, and every corner was filled with exotic plants, their vibrant colors contrasting against the more somber tones of the walls. The greenery seemed out of place in such an intimidating setting. Who keeps tropical plants in a place like this? But immediately dismissed the notion. My mind had a way of fixating on odd things when I was anxious. And right now, anxiety was my constant companion. I barely had time to absorb the surroundings before the men were hurrying me up the stairs. Betel led the way, his steps firm and measured, while the others followed closely behind, their pace quick and deliberate. There was a weight in the air, a palpable sense of urgency, and I could feel every step tightening the knot in my stomach. Where were they taking me? What did they want? We reached the second floor, and they stopped in front of a set of double doors. The carvings on the doors were intricate and mesmerizing depictions of wolves in battle, their features bold and fierce, making it clear that whoever lived behind these doors commanded power. The craftsmanship was so precise, so deliberate, that it almost seemed alive. But again, there was no time for admiration. Betel knocked once, and a voice from inside responded with a firm, "Come in." That voice, it hit me like a wave, rushing through my thoughts. I knew that voice. It was familiar to familiar, but I couldn't place it. My mind scrambled, trying to recall where I had heard it before. But the details were slippery, fading in and out like fragments of a dream. A cold shiver ran down my spine, and my heart skipped a beat. What was going on here? The doors swung open, and I was ushered inside. The two men accompanying me bowed their heads respectfully, addressing the man behind the desk. I kept my gaze low, my eyes darting to the side. Direct eye contact with an alpha was never a good idea, especially not in a situation like this. It was a challenge, a provocation, and the consequences could be severe. I avoided looking at him for as long as I could, focusing instead on the heavy oak furniture, the sharp scent of leather, and the oppressive silence that hung in the room. But despite my efforts to keep my distance, my curiosity gnawed at me. Who was this alpha? And why did his voice feel like a key to a door I was ready to open? The atmosphere was thick with authority. There was no room for questions or uncertainty here, and I had a sinking feeling that whatever was about to unfold would change everything. "Please." See, this voice was calm, almost soothing, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I knew that voice. There was no mistaking it. I hesitated for a moment, before sitting in one of the plush armchairs before him. My heart was pounding in my chest as I tried to control the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Oh my God, it can't be him. Stunned, my mind was racing, piecing together everything that had led me to this moment. I stared at him, struggling to find my voice. "Look at me, Adelina." That command, soft yet firm, made my heart leap. I slowly raised my eyes, and as they met his, the flood of realization crashed over me. Every guess I had made, every fleeting thought, every distant memory confirmed. I exclaimed, a mix of surprise and relief flooding my chest. "Yes, Adelina," he said with a gentle smile, "and I can't tell you how glad I am to see you here, safe and sound." I felt a wave of emotion, but it was quickly replaced by frustration. "Oh my God, not you either," I burst out, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "What do you want from me? Why are all the men imprisoning me to become kings?" I accused, my voice sharp with accusation. He looked at me, bewildered. What are you talking about? Maximus? My brother? Mario Lupo, you all seem to think you can imprison me, either because you're evil or because you're trying to be kings. You all do it for my sake. But why? What do you all want? The words tumbled out in frustration, and I found myself trembling with the weight of it all. He raised a hand, shaking his head. I haven't imprisoned you, Audilina, and I don't intend to. I'm your friend, and I'll prove that to you. He paused, giving me a small smile. Besides, I don't want to be king. I don't think I could handle the responsibilities of an alpha, let alone being king. My brows furrowed as I listened, my heart slowly starting to calm. Then why am I here? What do you want from me? The aggression in my voice was gone, replaced by genuine curiosity. He leaned forward, his expression softening. Please relax. I understand that you've been through a lot these past few days. But remember, I'm your friend, and no one here is going to hurt you. His voice was gentle, reassuring. Do you understand that? I nodded slowly, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. I was still overwhelmed, still uncertain, but his sincerity, his calmness was hard to ignore. I felt my body relax slightly, but a wave of embarrassment washed over me. I shouldn't have reacted that way, I muttered, hanging my head in shame. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, he said with a kind smile. You've been through so much. I understand. He paused for a moment before continuing. Now, let me answer your questions as best as I can. I took a deep breath, still uneasy, but I needed answers. Why am I here? I asked again, more calmly this time. He sighed deeply before answering, his tone steady. You're here because one of my teams rescued you last night. We've been searching for you for weeks with no luck. We were almost ready to give up when I received a tip from a spy in your brother's pack. The message said you were imprisoned in the dungeons of your old pack. I sent my man to check it out. He confirmed the information and began tracking your movements. I blinked, shocked. Wait, you've been looking for me this whole time? He nodded yes. We had been trying to track you, but everything went dark until we got that tip. My man followed the black van that took you, and we were able to track your new location. He paused for a moment, his expression serious. We observed the area for 2 days, watched the guards, noted when you had visitors, everything. And last night, we made our move. You hit at the right time. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Still trying to wrap my head around it. I am speechless. I should probably thank you, Nicholas, and apologize for my earlier behavior. He smiled warmly. You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad you're safe now. It's a pleasure to have you here. I shifted in my seat, my thoughts racing. But why do you have spies in my brother's pack? Aren't you and Jake allies? The smile faltered slightly on his face, replaced by a more serious expression. Yes, to an extent, but there's something you don't know about your brother, Audilina. I leaned forward, hanging on his every word. What do you mean? Your brother has been recruited by a criminal organization called the New Order. His voice darkening. This organization is made up of high-ranking wolves from various packs, and they have one goal: to make our kind the rulers of the world and destroy all other species. To stop this plan, the council formed a team to monitor every movement of the members involved. I was one of the people they hired. Some of the group joined the organization as spies to gather more information. And now we have everything we need to take them down. My heart sank as the words hit me like a punch. Jake, yes, part of it, I whispered, the weight of the realization sinking in. Yes, he said quietly, a deep sigh escaping his lips. Unfortunately, your brother is involved. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. What are you going to do to them? Dreading the answer, The council wants them imprisoned and tried. Their punishment will be determined according to the crimes they've committed so far. Some of them, unfortunately, will be executed. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with the implications. I felt my stomach churn. Executed. My brother. My mind raced. Thoughts jumbled as I tried to make sense of it all. I had been betrayed by so many, but the thought of my brother meeting such a fate was something I could barely grasp. Do you think my brother will be one of those executed? My voice wavering with worry. I had no love for Jake after everything he'd done imprisoning me. Abusing me, but death. That was something else. Nicola's face softened, his eyes showing a sadness that mirrored my own fears. I really don't know. Adelina, he said quietly, but the council won't take that decision lightly. I nodded slowly, the silence between us heavy with the unspoken. I didn't know what to feel, any more relief that I was free, dread for what might happen to my family. I guess we should wait, I muttered, but there was something else gnawing at me. What about Mario? Don't you worry that he'll find me here? Aren't you afraid of him? Nicola's looked confident, almost calm. There's no such possibility. The council guards will catch him in a few hours. But even if they don't, I'm not afraid of him. They'll fight him to protect you. His words were reassuring. But the truth was, Mario was dangerous. I knew he wouldn't stop. Not while I was still alive. But hearing Nicholas speak with such certainty made me feel a little safer. I can't thank you enough. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Feeling a weight lift off my chest, Nicholas smiled warmly, as if my gratitude was nothing more than a natural response. But tell me, do you need anything? His tone shifted to a more practical one. My thoughts turned to Maximus. It was time to confront the unknowns, to finally learn the truth about him. I needed to know if what Mario had told me was real. Yes, Nicholas. I want to learn something very important. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Trying to steady myself, gathering all the courage I had. Nicola's curiosity piqued, and he leaned forward slightly. Tell me what it is. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. It's about Maximus. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice firm but laced with hesitation. Nicola's brow furrowed. What about him? I swallowed hard. Did he look for me? The question hung in the air, though I feared the answer. Did he even care? Nicola sighed, his gaze softening with sympathy. I know he was looking for you with your brother's help. But after a week, he suddenly stopped. The spies told me your brother had something to do with it. My chest tightened as a rush of anger surged through me. Nevertheless, he should have kept looking for me. I snapped, my frustration rising. Nicholas didn't offer any further comment, simply shrugging as if to say there was nothing more to be done. I took a moment to compose myself. I have arranged your stay if you want to rest, Nicholas said quickly, his voice suddenly shifting to a more practical tone. Let me call an Omega to show you your room. I shook my head, not wanting to retreat into solitude just yet. No, it's not necessary. I don't want to rest right now. My stomach growled as if on cue, reminding me just how long it had been since I last ate. It's just like a hot cup of coffee and something to eat, because I'm really hungry. Nicola's expressions often in understanding. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm really sorry for my indiscretion earlier. Where are my manners? Shaking his head as if to himself. Your breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. Where would you like to eat it? I smiled slightly, appreciating his kindness. If it's not too much trouble, I'd prefer to stay here, in your office. Clearly pleased. No trouble at all. I'm glad to share my office with such pleasant company. His smile was warm, and it eased the tension that still lingered between us. A sense of calm settled over me as I realized that, for the first time in days, I felt safe. At least here. For the moment, I could breathe easy. Chapter 46, The Ultimate Fight. Maximus POV. In the last 2 days, my most trusted men had worked tirelessly to round up every traitor whose name appeared on the list. We had detained so many that we were forced to send a number of them to prisons belonging to other pacts. The council had made it clear that no one was to be mistreated or tortured. Everything had to be carried out by the book. They insisted that the trials commence in 5 days' time, at each pack, with at least one member of the council present to ensure fairness. The courts would determine the severity of the punishments based on the crimes committed, but I had made it clear that if they let any of the traitors off too easily, I would take matters into my own hands. I would not stand by and watch my pack's enemies go unpunished. Alpha, Mario Lupo is on the phone. Do you want me to cross the line? Gemma's voice broke from my thoughts. Cross the line immediately. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My tone cold and direct. The phone crackled as Mario's voice filled the line, dripping with arrogance. Maximus Draco, what a pleasure to hear you again. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. Where's my mate? Luther, I demanded, my voice sharp. A sickening laugh echoed on the other end of the line. Oh my, the big bad Alpha is starting to worry about his mate. How fool, considering the fact that you didn't give a damn about her a few days ago. His voice dripped with sarcasm. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my temper in check. If you called me just to judge me, you can hang up now. My patience wearing thin. An unnerving sound. You can't scare me with words. Maximus, I'm not like the others. I'm not afraid of you. I leaned forward, the anger bubbling to the surface. I'm running out of patience. Lupo, where's she? The line went quiet for a moment. Then Mario's voice came, low and deliberate. If you want to see her alive again, you need to meet me at the Sacred Rock. But you have to come alone. My mind reeled. The Sacred Rock. I hadn't expected him to take her there. Not after everything that had happened. You expect me to believe that all this time you've been hiding her at the Sacred Rock under my nose. I'm not stupid. Lupo, I replied, skepticism lacing my voice. Mario's tone shifted, a smugness creeping in. I never said you would find her there. I told you to come meet me there if you want her back safe and sound. His words sent a chill through me. I cowled and afford to trust him blindly. Not after everything he'd done. How do I know you're not lying to me? How do I know you won't harm her even if I come? Trying to read between the lines of his words, Mario's laugh echoed again. But this time it was darker, almost mocking. You'll just have to take that risk, won't you? He taunted before abruptly ending the call. I stood frozen, my heart pounding, a mix of frustration and dread rising in my chest. My thoughts churned like a storm. Was I making the right choice? Should I trust him enough to walk into this trap? Or was this all part of his sick game? I clenched my fists and forced myself to breathe deeply, trying to steady the onslaught of emotions threatening to overtake me. No matter what tricks he had up his sleeve, I was going to bring Adelina home. I cowled and afford to let him win. Gamma, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice resolute. Prepare my things. I'm heading to the Sacred Rock. I sent a quick mind link to Chris, telling him my plans. He responded immediately, urging caution. He wanted to send 2 teams to shadow me, keeping hidden and only intervening if absolutely necessary. But I refused. I couldn't risk putting Adelina in further danger. This was my responsibility. She was my mate, and I was going to face whatever came head on. With that settled, I grabbed my keys, my phone, and my sword, the weight of it a familiar comfort, and headed straight for the Sacred Rock. This was it. Adelina would be in my arms again tonight. I made a silent vow to Artemis herself that I would not fail her. After 15 minutes of tense driving, I reached the dead end leading to the narrow path toward the sacred rock. The area was eerily quiet, and my senses were on high alert. I took slow, measured steps, scanning the surroundings for any sign of movement, any hint of hidden warriors. Nothing. My senses were sharp, and I knew it was just my instincts I had allowed drive AKO to take over, sharpening my focus, heightening every sense. I reached the clearing, and to my surprise, the sacred rock stood in solitude. There were no guards, no signs of a trap. I cautiously surveyed the area for a few minutes, but found nothing. It didn't sit right. Why had he led me here if no one was around? Are you looking for me? The voice was sudden, cutting through the silence like a knife. I spun around, instinctively reaching for my sword. From the shadows of the surrounding bushes, Mario emerged, his smug expression barely visible in the low light. "Where's Adelina?" I demanded, my voice low and menacing. Draco's voice rumbled in my mind, his tone concerned. Why didn't we notice him before? I don't know. But this isn't good. Stay alert. He never plays fairly, I warned, my grip tightening on the hilt of my sword. Mario flashed a grin, clearly enjoying the tension. "Nice to see you too, Draco." His voice had a playful undertone, but I could hear the edge beneath it. The mockery. "I'm not in the mood for games. Tell me where Adelina is, or you won't live to see another day." I snarled, stepping closer, my gaze unwavering. Mario smirked, clearly enjoying the power he held over the situation. The big bad alpha is getting angry. What do I do now?" he taunted, before his expression darkened. "Did you really think he'd just tell you where Adelina is? Draco, you're a fool to believe it given that easily. You must really think you deserve to be king. But you're nothing more than an idiot." I was done with his games. "Tell me where she is. You promised to release her as we agreed. Answer before I lose my patience." I unsheathed my sword in one swift motion, the cold steel glinting in the sunlight. Mario's eyes flickered to the blade, but he remained unfazed, still playing his sick game. "You think you scare me? This is all just a game to you, isn't it? The longer you drag this out, the more you'll regret it." The wind howled through the trees, and I tightened my grip on the hilt, prepared to do whatever it took to bring her back. "Where's Adelina? Did you set her free as we agreed?" "Tu es agent extraordinaire, Werewolf. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "To my agent extraordinaire, Werewolf. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I repeated, my voice now deadly calm, the warning clear. I wasn't going to let him toy with me any longer. Not after everything he had put us through. I had one mission, to get Audie back, and nothing was going to stop me. "I never agreed to anything with you." Mario spat, his voice dripping with venom, and without warning, he drew his sword. "You are a disgrace," I retorted, my anger flaring. In an instant, I lunged at him with all the force I could muster. The clash of steel filled the air as we began to fight. I led the charge from the very beginning, and despite his skill, I was faster and more precise. Each strike I delivered found its mark across his arms, shoulders, and ribs. He tried desperately to evade, using every trick in the book to break my rhythm, but he was no match for me. The battle raged on for almost half an hour. Mario's moves became increasingly frantic, his sword swings clumsy. It was clear he was tiring. I saw my opening. I ducked under his wild swing, disarmed him in one fluid motion, and sent his sword flying through the air. That's why I'm the best candidate for the position of king. "To my agent extraordinaire, Werewolf. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Standing tall, my chest heaving with pride. But before I could savor my victory, I heard a sharp whistle. It sliced through the air like a razor, and before I could even react, something sharp and cold struck me in the back. I gritted my teeth, instinctively reaching for whatever it was. It was an arrow, barbed and deadly. I tugged it from my skin, bringing it up to my nose to smell it. The unmistakable stench of wolfbane and silver burned my nostrils. It was poison, poison that could kill any wolf in an instant. But I was no mere wolf. I was a lichen. I glared at Mario as I pulled the arrow free, feeling the poison already working its way through my veins. His smirk only widened. Did you really think I would play fair? That's why I deserve to be king, because I never leave anything to chance. His voice dripped with arrogance as he moved closer, launching himself at me again with renewed ferocity. I could feel the poison spreading rapidly, my body growing heavier with every passing second. My muscles screamed in protest, and I knew I was running out of time. But I wasn't about to let Mario see me weak. I let my lichen side take control, my vision sharpening, my instincts heightened. Even as my strength faltered, I would fight until my last breath. But Mario was done. His attacks came harder. Each blow felt like it could be the one that finished me. The poison was working its magic, clouding my thoughts, making my limbs sluggish. But Draco's will kept me fighting. The lichen blood inside me was my only chance now. I stumbled back, my head spinning. My breath ragged as I leaned against the trunk of a nearby tree to steady myself. The dizziness was overwhelming, but I cowed into afford to let it consume me. Mario didn't give me a moment's respite. As soon as he saw me falter, he shifted into his wolf form. His beast was far more vicious than he could ever be in human form. I braced myself, ready for whatever he had planned. The wolf was upon me, teeth bared, claws slashing. I tried to dodge, but my reflexes were slow, my movement sluggish, and the poison was making everything feel distant and surreal. It was the first time I'd fought a wolf in human form, but never had I fought one my body betrayed me with every second that passed. Even as Drive AKO pushed forward, lending me strength, the poison continued to sap my energy, draining me more than I could replenish. I had fought too long and too hard, and the edge was fading fast. My legs were shaky, and my vision blurred, but I cowed into forward to give in. Mario's wolf pressed me harder, knocking me to the ground. I hit the dirt with a painful thud, my body aching, the cold poison crawling through my veins like fire. I gasped for air, struggling to find the strength to get back up, but it felt impossible. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. Mario shifted back to his human form, towering over me with a smug look on his face as I struggled to regain my footing. Drive AKO. His tone cruel and confident. These will be your last minutes alive before I send you to meet your ancestors. Any last words? He taunted, his eyes drinking in the sight of my struggle. I could barely breathe, barely move. The poison had taken hold, but as I looked up at Mario, I refused to let him see how close he was to winning. My pride, my strength, and my love for Adelina kept me fighting through the haze of the poison. I cowed and let him win. Not like this. Not after everything we had been through, yes. I managed to rasp, my voice barely a whisper. Every word felt like it took every ounce of strength I had left. My body was falling apart, trembling uncontrollably as I struggled to hold myself together. The poison coursed deep through my veins, making every movement feel like an agonizing fight. Yet I knew I couldn't stop. Not now, not with everything at stake. But Mario was relentless. He saw my weakness, and like the predator he was, he took advantage. Every strike he delivered was a brutal reminder of how close I was to my end. Cuts, bruises, and bites marred my body, but Drive AKO couldn't kill me, not with the poison spreading like wildfire through my blood. My vision blurred, and everything seemed to spin. When Mario finally paused, no doubt to catch his breath, I seized the moment. A mocking smile on his lips. "I'm a civilized wolf," To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll grant your last wish before I kill you. I took a labored breath, summoning whatever was left of my resolve. I inhaled sharply, trying to focus. Go to hell, Luther. The words barely left my mouth before I pushed myself up, drawing on every last bit of willpower. I cowed and fall. I would never be a coward. My fists and feet began to fly, fueled by pure defiance. I struck him with everything I had left, my claws digging into his flesh, teeth sinking into his skin. For every punch, every kick, every hit, I felt the weight of my fury lift me up, pushing me beyond my limits. I forced him down, slicing deep into his abdomen. I felt his resistance weakening, his movements becoming sluggish. This was my chance to survive, to turn the tide. But just as I thought victory might be within reach, my strength evaporated. The poison had drained me too far. With a feral grin, Mario capitalized on my weakness. He kicked me with all his might, sending me crashing to my knees. My head hung low, sweat dripping down my face. Every breath was a battle, and I couldn't tell if it was the poison or my own exhaustion that kept me from falling entirely. Mario stood above me, the sight of my struggle evidently thrilling him. Who would have thought? Maximus Drive KO, the strongest wolf in all the packs, kneeling before me. This sight is worth 1,000,000 gold pieces. He raised his sword, its gleam flashing in the moonlight, ready to end it all. I could feel myself slipping away. The exhaustion, the pain, the poison, it was all too much. I would have accepted it. Maybe it was time to let go. But Drive KO wasn't finished. Deep inside my mind, urged me not to give up. You have to fight. Get up. Finish this. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I thought it was just a desperate plea, a final cry from the wolf inside me. But then, he said something that made something shift within me. Audalina's life depends on you. The words pierced through the haze of pain, and suddenly, it all clicked. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The desperation, the need to protect her, it urged within me like a tidal wave. And just like that, I felt a surge of strength unlike anything I had ever experienced. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The weakness, the dizziness, all of it was gone in an instant. I stood tall, stronger than ever, my body no longer betraying me. My senses sharpened, my fury ignited, and Mario's eyes widened in disbelief. No, this can't be, he whispered, stunned by the change. But it didn't matter. I was beyond reason, beyond mercy. I was ready to end this. The battle raged on, and with a few swift moves, I had him down. I straddled him, my hands gripping his throat. Tell me where Audalina is, I demanded, my voice low and dangerous. His eyes darted frantically as I slowly squeezed the life out of him, struggling to speak, but I was about to let him go easily. Tell me where she is, I repeated, my grip tightening. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His voice barely a whisper. Dead. Drive KO. The words hit me like a hammer. Dead? No, I couldn't believe it. But the shock only fueled my fury. The moment I heard those words, all hell broke loose. My anger, my grief, my desperation, they all merged into a primal force that consumed me. I began to hit him, to kick him, to beat him until his body gave way to my rage. Each punch, each strike, was a release. I heard his bones crack beneath my fists, felt his body give in to the relentless assault. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not until he was nothing. As his breath grew weaker, I grabbed his head and snapped his neck with a single, brutal twist. And then, everything stopped. The power that had surged through me left as quickly as it had come. My legs gave out beneath me, and I collapsed to my knees. The adrenaline faded, and the exhaustion hit me like a tidal wave. My head hung low, and darkness closed in around me. Chapter 47 Upside Down Maxim's POV. I woke up slowly, my senses returning one by one. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Everything felt blurry, disorienting, like I was waking from a deep, heavy sleep. I blinked a few times, trying to focus, and then the familiar scent of antiseptic hit my nose. A hospital room. I was in a hospital room. As I became more aware, I realized I was lying in a bed. The soft blankets wrapped around me, and the steady beeping of medical equipment filling the air. Ines entered the room, her face softening when she saw me awake. "You're finally awake." Her voice gentle but filled with concern. "You've been out for 3 days." I blinked, trying to grasp the weight of her words. 3 days. I had no recollection of the time. "Beta Chris brought you here after finding you in the forest," she continued. "You were unconscious, and it was touch and go for a while. The poison was severe, but we had the antidote. You're lucky he found you where he did." It was then that a surge of gratitude washed over me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He hadn't listened to me. He hadn't followed my orders. And for once, I was glad. I was glad he followed his heart. That he made the decision to save me, even when I had been too stubborn to do what was necessary. I was exhausted, my body felt like it had been through a wall. And in many ways, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The struggle, it had all taken its toll, but I needed the sleep. It had been one of the side effects of the poison, a deep sleep that had taken me into an almost unconscious state. My body had been shutting down, but the antidote had reversed much of the damage. And now, I was here. As my mind started to clear, another thought surfaced, bringing with it a surge of hope and excitement. Audilina. I mind-linked Chris asking for her. Chris told me that she was safe. She was found. That was all HED said. He had been careful with his words, leaving out the details, and that left a flicker of doubt in my mind. But still, the fact that she was alive, that she was safe, that was all that mattered. She would be here tomorrow. And with that, Drive HKO and I both felt a rush of anticipation. We could feel her presence already, even from afar. We could almost smell her intoxicating scent, hear her soft voice. I wanted to pull her into my arms, hold her, and never let go. I wanted to tell her everything I hadn't been able to before, everything I should have said. I would show her how much I missed her, how deeply I cared for her. There would be no more mistakes, no more hesitation. I would prove to her that I was worthy of her love, that I was ready to accept her into my life. Wholeheartedly, in the quiet of the room, I finally allowed myself to admit something I had been holding back for so long. I love her. It was just about the bond, or the mate connection. It was so much deeper than that. I had spent so many years telling myself that love was a weakness, that a mate was something to fear, something that would always let me down. My father had ingrained those beliefs in me, telling me that a mate would eventually betray me. He had made me believe that love would make me vulnerable, make me weak. But Adelina had shown me something entirely different. She had shown me what it meant to truly love and be loved. She had proven to me that a mate was something to fear, but something to cherish. Even after everything I had done, all the mistakes I had made, she still cared. She still believed in me. She never gave up on me. And now, I knew the truth. I couldn't live without her. She was my other half, the missing piece of my soul, and I couldn't wait to share the rest of my life with her. Once she was here, we would complete the bond. We would mark each other, and the world would know that we were meant to be. And I could already see it in my mind, our future together. A home filled with laughter and love. A life of happiness and joy. Puppies running around, filling the house with energy and light. We would have it all. The past no longer had a hold on me. The mistakes, the doubts, the painful memories, they couldn't control me anymore. It was time to move forward, to embrace the future with her. It was time to love her fully, without hesitation or fear. And this time, nothing, and no one, would tear us apart. The hope of seeing her again, of making things right between us, filled me with a sense of peace I hadn't known in a long time. I had been given a second chance, and this time, I wouldn't waste it. I would be the mate she deserved. I would be the man who would cherish her for the rest of our lives. I was lost in these thoughts when I heard a soft clearing of the throat from the doorway. I looked up to see Dr. Suarez standing there, clipboard in hand, a look of mild surprise on his face. "Good morning. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." He greeted me respectfully, though his voice held an undertone of something else, something like uncertainty. "Good morning, Dr. Suarez," I responded with a polite nod. "To what do I owe the honor of your visit?" He blinked at me, clearly taken aback by my courteous tone. It was rare for anyone to speak to him with such respect, but I wasn't in the mood to ignore the good news that was about to come. After a brief moment of hesitation, he composed himself and continued. "Well, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I just wanted to inform you that the results of the tests we ran over the past few days are encouraging. You're recovering well, and barring any unforeseen complications, you should be discharged by tomorrow morning." A wave of relief washed over me, and I couldn't help but smile. At last, some good news. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Feeling the weight of everything that had happened finally begin to... Dr. Suarez scribbled something in my chart before leaving, his face still a bit stunned by my uncharacteristic response. The next morning, I woke with a sense of anticipation bubbling in my chest, though it was tinged with an underlying anxiety. Drive AKO felt it too. The night had been restless. It tossed and turned, unable to shake the memories of everything I had done wrong with Adelina. The hurt I had caused, the mistakes that had pushed her away, regret gnawed at me. But amidst the doubts, there was hope. The hope that she would come back to me, that I could make things right. I would apologize for my actions, for the times I had hurt her, and I would ask for her forgiveness. It was all I wanted to show how much I loved her, how deeply I had changed. Still, there was that strange feeling in my gut, a sensation that something was amiss, as if some shadow loomed just out of reach. I quickly pushed the thought away, not allowing it to cloud my mind. I took a quick shower, shaved, and dressed in clean clothes, focusing on the task at hand. Today was about Adelina, about setting things right. After gathering my things, I thanked the medical staff for their care and made my way out to the parking lot. Chris had left the Jeep for me the night before, and as I slid into the driver's seat, a sense of urgency pushed me forward. I needed to see her. I needed to make sure she was all right, that she was truly coming back to me. The drive to the Pact house was a blur of thoughts, but nothing could distract me from the hope that burned brightly in my chest. Upon arrival, I stepped out of the Jeep and made my way toward my office. But before I could reach the door, Demetrio appeared, blocking my path. "Alpha, the trials are scheduled to begin tomorrow." His tone respectful but carrying the weight of responsibility. "The 2 council members arrived yesterday and have requested to see you. Would you like me to inform them of your arrival?" I paused for a moment, considering. "No, not yet. I need some time alone to gather my thoughts and sort out the matters at hand. I'll see them later." "Understood. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Is there anything else? Are the warriors continuing their training? Twice a day. Sir. Good. I want you to form another team. This team will consist of only our top warriors. They will patrol the borders alongside the regular border guards from now on. Demetrio gave me a curious look, but his respect for me kept his question polite. Yes, Alpha, but why so much control at the borders? Is there something we should be concerned about? I'm not concerned about anything. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice steady but firm. In being cautious. Better safe than sorry. If there's nothing else, you're dismissed. He nodded quickly and left, but his puzzled look lingered in my mind for a moment longer. Everything was falling into place. The trials were set to begin, but my focus was elsewhere. It was all leading to one moment, when I would see Adelina again. I had no time to waste. Nothing would distract me from that. I was ready to face whatever came next. Whether it was the trials or the return of the woman I loved, nothing would stop me now. I had been holed up in my office for about 3 hours when one of the guards entered, informing me that Adelina had already returned and was in her room. He asked if I would grant her permission to speak with me. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest at the news, and I immediately told him to let her know she was welcome to come to see me anytime she wanted. But my relief was quickly replaced by irritation when I realized how long it had taken for him to deliver this news. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I barked at him, my voice carrying the full weight of my alpha authority. Nunes' wish. Bowing his head low in submission, his response tempered my anger, though only barely. If Adelina had requested it, I cowed and fought him. With a growl, I waved him off, muttering about his luck this time. He quickly left, sparing himself the brunt of my frustration. Now I was left to wait, and waiting was torture. The thought of seeing her again, of being near her, consumed me. Drive AKO. My wolf was even more impatient than I was. His constant urging to go to her room and claim her was nearly impossible to resist. I had to use all my strength to hold him back. The image of marking her, of making love to her, was vivid in my mind, but I cowed and let myself act on it. Not yet. This had to be done right. Then, at last, I heard it a soft knock on the door. My heart slammed against my ribcage, and my breath hitched as her intoxicating scent seeped through the door. She was here. The joy that surged through me was indescribable. My heart raced as though I were a teenager about to meet his first love. And for a moment, I cowed and didn't speak. I had to clear my throat before I could whisper, "Come in." The door creaked open, and there she was. Timidly, she stepped into the room, wearing a long, light pink dress patterned with delicate white flowers. Her hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, but she looked breathtaking. When her deep brown eyes met mine, I felt like the ground beneath me had turned to liquid. My legs threatened to give out, and my guilt washed over me in waves. How could I have been so blind? How could I have treated her so poorly? How can you be so stupid? Drive AKO snarled in my head, his disapproval biting. I ignored him, to focus on the woman standing before me. "Hello, Maximus," she greeted softly, her voice like a balm to my weary soul. "Welcome back, Adelina," I managed, rising to my feet and gesturing for her to sit. I accompanied her to the armchairs near my desk, and she hesitantly took a seat in one where I settled into the opposite chair. But as I sat, I noticed something that made my chest tighten. She was uncomfortable. Her body language was stiff, her posture guarded. She was uneasy being near me, and it tore me apart inside. Drive AKO growled restlessly, his frustration mirroring mine, but I forced myself to remain composed. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. It was unbearable. Finally, I cleared my throat to break the tension. "Would you like some coffee?" Desperate for anything to make this less awkward. "Yes, I would, she replied softly, giving me a faint smile. That small smile was like a lifeline, and I latched onto it. I picked the own gaze out to bring us coffee and some croissants, then turned my attention back to her. I can't tell you how happy I am that you've returned, I said earnestly, leaning forward. You can't imagine how much I've missed you. Her response was like a slap to the face. No, I can't, she said inferiorly, her tone void of any warmth. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me, but I didn't let it show. Years of being an alpha had taught me to mask my emotions, to never let anyone see my vulnerability. But her words cut deeper than I cared to admit. Why did she say that? Did she truly believe I didn't miss her? I pressed on, determined to make things right. Now that you're back, I want you to know that I've decided to do things differently this time. I began, my voice filled with conviction. Everything will change. It'll change. I'll spend more time with you. I'll take care of you. I'll be the perfect companion. We'll do everything together, spend time. Create memories. Maximus, she interrupted sharply, her voice cutting through my rambling. Before you say anything else, I need to tell you something. The determination in her eyes froze me in place. Her tone was firm, her expression serious. Whatever she was about to say was going to be easy, and it took all my strength not to interrupt. I opened my mouth to speak, but she silenced me with a stern look. For the first time in years, someone had rendered me completely speechless, and I obeyed her unspoken command. I leaned back in my chair, my heart pounding in my chest, and waited for her to speak. Whatever she had to say, I could feel it was going to change everything. Maximus, I'm here only to inform you about my plans. Her voice steady and formal, as if addressing a council meeting rather than her mate. Wonderful. We want the same thing, I replied eagerly, leaning forward in anticipation. I'm listening. Her gaze didn't waver. As you know, my brother is imprisoned and will likely remain so for years and sentenced to death. My father and I can't leave our pack leaderless. There's no one else left to take the role. Don't worry about that, I reassured her. I'll handle it. It'll appoint a new alpha for your old pack. Her expression didn't change. There's no need for that, she replied coolly. Oh, so Richard will take over again? Puzzled. No, she said, her tone unwavering. I will. You what? I blinked, taken aback. I will take over, she repeated firmly. I've been leading the Crescent Moon Pack as its alpha for the past 3 days, and I intend to continue doing so for as many years as necessary. The shock hit me like a punch to the gut. You an alpha? What nonsense is this? I scoffed before I could stop myself. Her lips curled into a faint, humorous smile. Your reaction doesn't surprise me. I didn't expect anything better from you. Her confidence cutting like a blade. You misunderstood, I said quickly, realizing my mistake. It's not that I doubt your ability. I know you're capable, but you have responsibilities as my Luna and the future Queen of Werewolves. You won't have the time or energy to handle both. You know that. That's exactly why I'm here. Her eyes locking with mine. In resigning from the title of Luna and the responsibilities that come with it, I want my freedom back. Maximus. Her words hit me like a thunderclap. You want? What? What are you talking about? You can't be serious, I exclaimed, my frustration boiling over. I'm very serious, she replied, her voice as firm as stone. But we had an agreement, I protested, the words spilling out before I could think. My chest tightened painfully. That agreement is no longer valid, she said bluntly. You've defeated all your enemies. It's clear that you'll be the next king. You don't need me anymore. Her words felt like a dagger twisting in my heart. But I do need you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice breaking. You can't leave me, Adelina. Not now. You have no idea how much I need you by my side. Maximus, you don't made me. Her tone colder than ice. You never did. We were never meant to be together. Nothing between us was ever as it should have been. Stop pretending to care, it won't change anything. I'm not pretending, I said desperately. I'm pouring my heart out to you. I meant every word I said. Yes, I was wrong before. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But I've changed. Audilina, I want you by my side. As my mate. I want to love you, adore you, make you happy. I want us to have a life together. To raise pups together. To face everything as one. I'm sorry. Her voice devoid of emotion. But our priorities don't align. Just give me a chance. I pleaded. One chance is all I ask. You'll have your chance. Her tone softening slightly but still distant. But understand this, you no longer have an advantage over anyone else. And from this moment forward, I am a free woman. If you want me, you'll have to earn me. And be warned, I can flirt with any man I choose. Her declaration ignited a firestorm in my chest. That's ridiculous. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You'll never allow such a thing. Her gaze sharpened, her eyes like daggers. I'm not here to ask for your permission, Maximus, she said cruelly. I'm simply informing you. She stood abruptly, her posture rigid and commanding, as though she had already assumed her alpha title in every way. As she turned to leave, I sprang to my feet and grabbed her arm, stopping her. The intensity of her glare could have felled weaker men, but I refused to let go. Listen to me, I growled, leaning close enough that my breath tickled her ear. I won't let you go so easily. Audilina, you're mine, and you'll have you in my arms again. Sooner or later, you'll come back to me. She yanked her arm free with a strength that startled me and left without another glance. As the door slammed shut behind her, I stood frozen, her scent lingering in the air like a bittersweet reminder of what it just lost. I may have lost the battle, but I would not lose the war. Not when it came to her.